Hi, my name is Cheryl Benefield, and I'm the Program Manager for Safe and Drug-Free Schools at the Georgia Department of Education.
Hi, I'm Emily Graybill, and I'm a faculty member at the Center for Leadership and Disability at Georgia State University.
Today we're going to talk about your teenager's mental health. We'll talk about typical teen behaviors and teen behaviors that may be suggestive of a mental health concern. Then we'll provide strategies that may help you talk about mental health with your teen. Finally, we'll share mental health resources that you may be able to access to help your teen and your family.
The teen years can be an exciting time for you as a family member and for your teen. Teenagers are transitioning to adulthood, they're gaining independence, and they're beginning to think about the rest of their lives. While the teen years can be an exciting time, they can also be challenging for both families and teens. Moodiness, anger, and rebellion are typical during the teen years, and it can be difficult to know if your teen is showing typical teen behavior or if their behavior is suggestive of a mental health concern that warrants support from a mental health professional. If you're worried that your teen is struggling, you may be right, and know that you are not alone. Most parents of teenagers worry about their teen's behavior at some point. Pay close attention and make note of your teen's behaviors and of the incidents that you're concerned about. You may be able to share that information with a mental health provider if you have access to one. We'll share some information now about why your teen's behaviors may change when they enter adolescence. And we'll discuss the difference between typical adolescent behavior changes, or those behavior changes we expect to see from our teenager, and behavior changes that may be suggestive of a mental health concern. Before your child enters adolescence, he or she experiences the final critical time of brain growth. During this time of preteen brain growth, disruptions in sleep or increased stress may increase the likelihood of various mental health concerns emerging during the teen years. Then, between the ages of 12 and 15, your child's brain is releasing hormones that cause physical changes in their bodies and emotional changes, such as differences in the way they approach their relationship with you and differences in the way they approach their relationships with their peers. The preteen brain changes, along with the changes in friendships, hormones, the transition to middle school or high school, can be very stressful, particularly for teens who are more vulnerable to mental health concerns because of genetics or mental health concerns that may run in the family, or teens who have been exposed to early stress. Because of all these combined factors, changes in the brain, changes in hormones, changes in school, changes in friendship, almost half of today's teenagers experience a mental health concern, and 22% of today's teenagers experience a mental health concern that has a severe impact on their life. Again, the teen years signal an exciting time for your child as they're beginning the long progression from being a child to being an adult. And this is also a time when mental health issues can become apparent. It can be difficult to know which of your child's behavior changes are typical adolescent behavior and which of your child's behavior changes are indicative of a mental health concern. It's important to differentiate between what is typical and what is suggestive of a mental health concern so that we don't overreact when our teen is engaging in typical adolescent behavior, and so that we notice the red flags that our teen puts up when he or she needs our help. Here are some examples of typical teen behavior and teen behaviors that may be of concern. First, sleep. The changes in a teenager's brain makes them stay awake at night 2 hours later than they did when they were a younger child. They also need more sleep than they did in early childhood. So a teenager should get between 9 and 9.5 hours of sleep every night. So if your teen wants to stay up late and then sleep in the morning, that's typical. That's what we would expect from a teenager. What isn't typical is not being able to sleep at all or sleeping for 12 to 14 hours at a time. So if your teen isn't sleeping more than 7 hours a night or sleeping more than 12 hours per day for several days at a time, that may be suggestive of a mental health concern. And the research tells us that teens who sleep less than 6 hours per night may have more challenging behaviors and be more prone to mood swings than other teens. Similar extremes in eating habits may emerge during adolescence. We expect your teen to eat more during adolescence because of the growth happening in their bodies. However, rapid and extreme weight gain or rapid and extreme weight loss may suggest a mental health concern. Second, social activities. Relationships with friends become more important as kids enter adolescence and they spend more and more time with their peers, which may mean they spend less time with their parents or grandparents. This is typical. It can be a difficult change for parents and grandparents because their child or grandchild is more interested in spending time with their friends than with them. But again, this is typical and expected. However, if your teen becomes isolated in adolescence and doesn't want to spend time with family or friends, this may be suggestive of a mental health concern. Teenagers who are isolated or who feel isolated report higher rates of depression and lower self-esteem. Your teen may not be able to articulate that he or she is depressed because of feeling isolated. Instead, your teen may become angry at you, angry at other adults, or they may direct their anger at their peers at their school. Third, privacy. Teenagers like their privacy. They're developing new social relationships with peers, their bodies are changing, and they're seeking more independence. During this time, their desire for privacy is increasing as they're forming their identity, and this is typical. However, if your teen is becoming secretive and acting like they're hiding objects or keeping lots of secrets, this may be suggestive of a concern, and you may need to explore more. It's typical for teens to become embarrassed if they feel like their privacy has been violated. However, if your teen becomes enraged or violent when they feel like their privacy has been violated, that may be indicative of a mental health concern worth exploring. Fourth, heartbreak. Romantic relationships become more common and more important in adolescence. Many of these romantic relationships begin in adolescence and also end when the kids are teenagers. Dealing with the first or second breakup can be hard on teens. They may become fatalistic and worry that they'll never find another person to love. It's typical for teenagers to be sad after a romantic relationship ends. It's typical for that sadness to last a few weeks. However, if that sadness lasts longer than a few weeks and doesn't decrease in intensity, meaning that the youth gets more and more depressed, that may suggest that they don't have the coping skills to move past the breakup without support, and that may be indicative of a deeper mental health concern. Finally, interests. It's appropriate to outgrow things as we move through life. Your music-loving daughter may want to stop piano lessons to run track, or your little gamer may suddenly decide he wants to audition for the school play. Those changes are a natural part of learning who we are and what we enjoy doing. It may become a problem, however, if a young person starts losing interest in what they've been doing without having something else in mind.
When you notice these kinds of changes, it's important to talk to your teen about the concerns that you have in a way that's not threatening. First, start the conversation by describing what you've noticed about their current behavior. Avoid belittling them, criticizing them, or using sarcasm with them when you're describing the struggles you've observed. Next, be genuine and non-judgmental. Remember, even though teenagers can engage in some really frustrating behaviors, they want to be accepted by the adults in their life. Youth know when you genuinely care about their problem. Listen and be silent. Adults have the tendency to give teenagers advice when they think they're struggling. Avoid giving advice. Instead, listen to them speak. If the teen wants your advice, they'll ask for it. Your silence will send the message that you really do want to listen to them. Next, normalize their feelings. Almost half of all teenagers experience mental health concerns. Your teenager is not alone. Then ask your teen if he has thoughts about what he needs to do to get better. He may know the answer to his problem and may not need your wisdom to identify a solution for him. Finally, follow up with a support group or a mental health provider to learn more about how you and the mental health community can help support your teen. These concepts and others are explored in detail during Youth Mental Health First Aid training. Youth Mental Health First Aid is offered at no cost in many locations throughout the state, thanks to grants from the Georgia Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities, as well as from the U.S. Substance Abuse and Mental Health Service Agency. Youth Mental Health First Aid is an 8-hour training that's designed to provide adults who interact with young people, from parents to professionals to community members, how to recognize symptoms of mental health problems and how to offer and provide initial help to a young person who may be struggling. A key component to Youth Mental Health First Aid is guiding the individual to professional help if that's appropriate. If you're concerned about your teenager's behavior, there are some resources in Georgia that you can access to support you, to support your teen, and to support your entire family. The first and perhaps most important resource you should know about is GCAL, the Georgia Crisis and Access Line. It's the 24/7 hotline for accessing mental health services in Georgia. You may be familiar with GCAL for crisis response, but they're also equipped to help make connections to services. If you're struggling to find the services your child or your family needs, a call to GCAL may help you find what you're looking for. Another option is your local interagency planning team, or LIPT. LIPTs, or LIPs, are active in every county in Georgia. Some have their own LIPT, while others collaborate in a multi-county approach. Each LIPT brings together child-serving organizations and resources to facilitate the coordination of services for children living with severe behavioral health needs or addictive diseases. Youth and their families may be staffed or referred to LIPT by any of the child-serving agencies in the county, including Education, Juvenile Justice, or the Department of Family and Children's Services. LIPT is intended to be a support for families as they work to provide access to therapeutic and placement services and supports in the community. These services may be provided through your local Community Service Board, or CSB. CSBs serve as the safety net for mental health, developmental disability, and substance use disorder services management and delivery in Georgia's communities. All of Georgia's CSBs participate in the APEX program and are funded by the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities, or DBHDD. The APEX program is one way in which school-based mental health services are available throughout Georgia. APEX services are provided by CSBs or local care management entities in some school districts. In other districts, partnerships with other local providers make mental health services available for schools. Not all districts or schools provide on-site services, but the number that do is growing. For more information about where school-based mental health services may be available and if they're available in your area, contact your local school system. In addition to services for your child, there are nonprofit organizations and groups throughout the state that offer youth mental health first aid, as well as a number of other trainings and supports for families of children with mental health and addictive disorders. NAMI Georgia is a volunteer-driven organization dedicated to educating, advocating for, and supporting persons living with mental illnesses and their families. Across Georgia, 18 affiliates and 40 support groups, hundreds of trained volunteers work together to provide free education, skills training, and support in local communities. NAMI Georgia also offers a non-crisis helpline that can provide information about resources for persons with mental illnesses and their family members in Georgia. You can find all things NAMI Georgia online at namiga.org. Mental Health America of Georgia is dedicated to improving the lives of individuals with mental health challenges, as well as promoting mental wellness throughout Georgia. Mental Health America of Georgia works to increase the quality of life and advocate for independence for individuals with a severe and persistent mental illness through training programs and supports. Locate programs and trainings near you, learn more about advocacy and public policy, and find out about upcoming events at mhageorgia.org. Georgia Parent Support Network is a grassroots, family-run nonprofit organization that works on the belief that families are the best and most effective agents for change. Since 1989, GPSN has established a community-based network of support for parents of children living with severe emotional disturbances and behavioral difficulties. They're the statewide chapter of the National Federation of Families for Children's Mental Health, with 9 local chapters around the state. GPSN.org provides information about each chapter, along with services available, resources, and upcoming events. I think that the only thing harder than being a teenager is raising a teenager. I have 2 boys who are now adults, but when they were in their teens, I literally called my mom and apologized for everything I ever did and said, "Now I understand." Always remember, you are not alone. There are services, support groups, and other parents out there who will understand and can help you get connected. Thanks for watching.